Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So before the sun comes up, I wanted to talk to you guys about how we here at Starkey Farmstead apply permaculture principles to our 2-acre farmstead. So most of you that have seen us before know that my name is Samantha and I am the operator of this 2-acre farmstead. Now, what makes us very unique is that we are totally debt-free. We have a zero food waste, we have a zero manure waste, and we are almost at a zero paper waste. It is a point of enjoyment for my husband and I to find ways to upcycle and recycle things on our farmstead. What I'm seeing from so many people when they come and they tour is that they have amazing understanding of the concepts of permaculture. They understand the principles of regenerative agriculture. They understand sustainable farming. They get no-till. The problem is that they can't seem to integrate all those different concepts into a plan that works for them on their land. What I'm basically saying is that we have learned here how to use closed loop systems. That was not an overnight thing. All right, we've been on this property for 4.5 years. We have been farming it for 3. We started with rabbits and a very small garden. From rabbits, we went to chickens. Now, there was a year's time between the rabbits and then the chickens, and then about an 8-month period, and we added in quail. And currently, the quail are gone. Why? Well, it wasn't that they weren't profitable, but it was that I could only find one way that they were usable on my farmstead. And we basically have a rule here. If an animal, a product, a system doesn't have 2 uses, it has to go because it leaves too much waste behind. It does not fit into our view of sustainability. Now, notice how I said our view of sustainability. This type of farming, this type of living is very fluid. Something that might be important to me, some system that I've integrated on my property that might be very useful and very profitable to me might not work on your property. And that's the problem that I'm seeing. I'm seeing people with a lot of knowledge, but no ability to put that knowledge to work. It's kind of like the old saying, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Well, you don't, but you do need to understand what type of tire you're gonna need, okay? What type of wheel are you gonna need? Are you gonna need a wheel that can go through snow? Are you gonna need a wheel that can go through mud? Are you gonna need a wheel that can last 80,000 miles? Or can you get away with a 30,000 mile tread? That's what I'm talking about. The wheel's still the same. It's still a wheel. But my needs and my purposes for that wheel may be very, very different. So when you're going to apply permaculture principles to your property, you don't have to jump off the highest bridge first, guys, the highest cliff. You don't have to jump off of it. You don't start there. You start with about a 6-inch drop to the water and you praise yourself for being successful, all right? If you become someone that I call a permaculture cultist, and there are people like that if you don't use all 12 of the principles, if you don't apply them all in the most massive ways, then you are a failure. That doesn't make sense to me, because some of the principles I use very minimally. Some of them I use very seriously, like the closed loop system, the no waste. That is a big one for me. Starting small, that is a big one for me. Understanding what I am doing, because if I make great, huge changes to my property and then realize that what I have done has done more damage to my local environment, to the local waterways, well, I've screwed up. I've invested so much sweat equity, so much of my personal energy, so many of my life minutes to this project that was a complete and total failure when I could have started very small, become an expert, figured out all the kinks in the system, and then mass produced it. Like I was telling you guys, we started with rabbits for a year. We did not jump both feet into rabbits with 8 breeders, a couple of bucks, 40 cages with no way to sell our rabbits, no idea how to process them, no idea how to cook rabbit meat, no idea how to market it. We didn't understand the food laws. That is insanity, because you're going to fail. You're literally setting yourself up for failure. And that is a shame, because this lifestyle is about slowing down. It's about the small successes that begin to build up and accumulate to create a feeling of peace and joy, a feeling of accomplishment. And you don't get that if every day you're spending the majority of your time beating yourself up over the head because you bit off way more than you could chew. It's like I tell people about this 1/4 acre market garden. This is probably not for you. I'm doing this by myself. Ask me how many hours a day I'm in that garden from March to November. Guys, it's a 40-hour work week. The garden, that's not including keeping up with the fruiting trees, the cleaning and maintenance of the property, the animals that are on the property, taking care of the systems on the property, like the worms, the black soldier fly larvae, the compost, the charcoal, the biochar. That's all separate. Those are all separate systems working together to produce this. But to make a 1/4 acre market garden where I'm not purchasing any inputs, then I must create those inputs. That's a lot of work outside of the 40+ hours in the garden, okay? So if you start with a 1/4 acre no-till garden, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. It's so much land that needs to be seeded. And then as you're seeding, you have other products coming up, so you must harvest. On top of harvest, you are going to have to weed a little bit. You're going to have to prune. You're going to have to side dress and fertilize and pest control. I mean, you're going to have to still cut what grass you have left. That's what I'm talking about. Can you physically withstand this type of lifestyle? Take it small. Start with a 10 by 10 garden. Learn how to succession plant. Learn how to intercrop. Learn about companion plantings. Figure out what foods you and your family like to eat. Learn how to can those foods. That is also a permaculture principle. Canning and storing energy. Learn how to use your grass clippings. Learn how to use your leaves. Do it small. You will not regret it. And then if you realize that maybe no-till is not for you, maybe tilling is not for you, maybe heavy mulching isn't for you, maybe you got bit by a snake, which I did this year in my garden from underneath my heavy mulch. I mean, these are the realities that I and other permaculture people deal with. I don't market myself as permaculture because I feel like it has a cult following. I feel like people who do permaculture, you've got the ones like me who just apply the principles because it is the correct thing to do. And then you have the ones who can spout out all the knowledge, but they are so degrading to everyone else because you don't fit the picture of what they consider permaculture. Like, you're not doing enough. Sometimes leaving the property in its natural state is true permaculture. Think about what I just said. Sometimes not converting all of that into a food forest would be better than converting all of that to a food forest. Because when you're gone and one day you are going to, who is going to upkeep all those hours you spent out there? Who's going to take care of it? Would anybody even care? So you need to be incorporating people into your life. Don't forget, these are plants and livestock. They are not people, and they cannot take a person's place in your life. You need true human connections. You need honest conversation. You need to build, as you're building your permaculture dream, you need to be building connections with other humans. That is also a permaculture principle, connecting, okay? But you can't connect if you go to someone else's property and you want to tell them all the knowledge you have and what they need to do on their property and their space. And A, you either have never applied any of these principles, you've learned them, but you've not applied them because you don't have land yet. Or B, you've applied them and it works for you, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for them. When you are learning about permaculture, try to apply it to you, your circumstances. We are not alike. What you can do on your property, I may or may not be able to do on mine. That is the true permaculture concept, guys. Is figuring out what works, being honest about what does not, making the adjustments as you go. You will have successes, but you will also have failures. So start small. Know where the sun's going to come up at noon. Know where the hottest part of your property is, and don't put your livestock there. That is true permaculture. It's teaching you how to think. That's what they meant when they set those principles. They didn't mean for you to blackball people and become so cultish about it that if it wasn't done exactly like this, it wasn't true permaculture. True permaculture is being able to think. That's all it is. It's using what God has already given you and making it, stewarding it, making it beautiful. That is permaculture. Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for rowing in our boats. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell.